Hello and good evening and welcome to episode 16 of Coffee Chatter. Sorry it's so late, but I was lazy today. First off, there's no real local news, so what I decided to do was critique the West High School Chorus concert, which I watched on television. I spent all 4 years of high school in chorus, so naturally I continue to support the choir by attending their concerts. I couldn't go this year, but thankfully our local community station always records it. I was able to watch it on TV, so figured while I was at it, I would do a segment on it. When I was in school, there were 3 choirs: the West Singers, which was an all-women's choir, the concert choir, which was mixed and auditions were required, and the chamber choir or jazz choir, a college-level choir that usually sang songs without accompaniment. All the choirs are under the direction of Susan Wilkes, who when I had her was Susan Thorpe. She got married the summer after I graduated. Currently, the women's choir has been disbanded and a new mixed choir was created in its place, so new freshman men can join a choir without the pressure of an audition. Because otherwise, if you were an incoming freshman that was a male that didn't have much experience, you pretty much couldn't join choir until you auditioned. The choir sounded good and seemed to be flourishing despite not having Bedford students, where a lot of musical talent is found. Also, each year, the choir loses seniors who have grown in their singing abilities. The beginning of their concert featured members of all 3 choirs arriving on stage, spread throughout the auditorium and singing as they were walking onto the stage, which is a very interesting concept that she's tried before. And it seemed to work. It was very interesting. The music was chosen well, and while some songs did involve the winter Christmas selection, Wilkes tends to stay away from the traditional chorus Christmas songs, but instead branches out to gospel chant and old ballads to showcase the varying strengths of her chorus members. The concert choir did a terrific version of Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You, in which the 3 female soloists were very good. I look forward to the spring concert where Wilkes brings out a lot of show tunes and upbeat numbers. The choirs usually also get better during the spring because the winter is kind of their first show, especially for a lot of freshmen, some of which have never been in a choir. They might be nervous, which makes their singing a little off. So the spring, they're used to it. They've already been through one concert, which this year they did a fall concert, which I didn't catch on TV, but they had one, which is totally new because we only had 2 concerts a year when I was there. We had the winter and the spring. On to some TV news now. A network that is owned by A&E is closing. The Bio channel will soon be pulling the plug on itself, forming a new network called FYI, a station that they hope will attract a younger audience. It is unsure what will happen to the current shows that are ran through Bio, such as Celebrity Ghost Stories, The Haunting of, and of course Biography, which is how the network started. Lifetime Movie Network has, as far as I'm aware, taken over Celebrity Ghost Stories and The Haunting of, so hopefully those shows are safe. A more complete listing of the upcoming shows that will transfer to FYI, as well as a list of new series that they are working on, will be made available in 2014. Next, Dancing with the Stars Season 18 casting rumors. Every year during the off-seasons of the show, which is now, many entertainment sites start casting rumors and toss around names that have been rumored to have already signed on or have at least been approached. I think they do this to keep the people engaged and figuring out, ooh, okay, yeah, this might happen, or ooh, this person might be on. And I kind of like it that way because it keeps the fans, on their toes. I'll keep an eye on these and report any possible suspects. There have been rumors that not 1 but 2 judges are leaving, but nothing has been formally mentioned by them or their agents, so we will see. That would explain, however, the reason why they brought in a lot of guest judges this season. They claim it's because one of the 2 men always go back to the other show in Britain, which is how this show got started, but I don't really believe that because I've watched other shows and they've never left. And according to Tom, they leave every season. And this is the first season I see them leave. There's also a rumor going around that this season only Oscar winners will be dancing in an attempt to boost the ratings, but that hasn't been confirmed either. If you hear meowing, it's just my cat Duchess. She likes to have her time in the spotlight, but I'm not giving it to her. So far, the rumor mills have provided a few names. Tori Spelling made the rumor list again, as she has the past few seasons. She was actually labeled as a season 17 member, but apparently backed out at the last possible second. Young singer Corey Simpson claims he's also been approached and will make a formal announcement via Twitter after the holidays if he's decided to accept the offer. The Chew star Carla Hall has also been thrown into the mix, saying that she'd love to do Dancing with the Stars as an early 50th birthday present. Carla turns 50 in May, which is just after the season would end. I'd love to see Carla, as she does dance really well and has the ability to leave her Chew position, since there are 4 other hosts and a line of guest co-hosts that can take her place until she's either eliminated or the season is over. She also, last year, if anyone out there watches the Chew, was given by Daphne Oz a free dance lessons for a year. So if she used those tickets, she's been getting some dance lessons from a local dance studio to begin with, so she might have an upper leg. Sharon Osbourne is also a possibility and is no stranger to the ballroom, since both of her children were on. And ironically, they both finished third. Jack this season and Kelly back in season 10. Sharon was signed on twice, but had to back out due to scheduling conflicts. So it would be nice to see her actually pull through on signing up and doing it and see how good she does. Dancing with the Stars also seems to approach those that have made news headlines lately, as they are fresh in people's minds and able to have a following. They did this, you see this a lot last season with Valerie Harper, who had brain cancer, and she's supposed to be dead by now. And when she had her miraculous healing, or it seemed that she was in remission because she hadn't died yet, they signed her on to show people that you can do anything. You had Leah Remini, who was in the news for her Scientology decision. Jack Osbourne and his MS. They were all newsworthy things. So with that in mind, some possibilities could include Kris Jenner with her recent split with Bruce. Katie Couric could also be asked, who left ABC News to join Yahoo. Meredith Vieira, who is starting her own TV show next year after leaving Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And of course, Jay Leno, who will be leaving The Tonight Show next month. Katie has a pact with Chef Bobby Flay, so if she accepts that, that means he's automatically in. So that would be interesting to see. I haven't really been on the ball with movie and TV reviews because I've been busy with other stuff, but I hopefully will fill those for the new show, for the new episode coming up later on next month. So let's go right to Reflection Corner, because we have 4 saints to talk about today, and they're all pretty interesting. Reflection, the first reading today is from Genesis 49, verses 2 and 8 through 10. Assemble and hear, O sons of Jacob, and hearken to Israel your father. Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons shall bow down before you. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He stooped down. He couched as a lion and as a lioness. Who dares rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he comes to whom it belongs, and to him shall be the obedience of the peoples. Our psalm today is Psalm 72, verses 1 through 4, 7 through 8, and 17. What I'd like to do in the coming year is, if I have a voice, sing the responses for you as if you were at Mass. And that is just something that, because I love singing the Psalms when we're at church, and it's fun. But today I have a little bit of a scratchy voice, so you're stuck with my reading voice. Hopefully when I come back in January will be good. The response is, justice shall flourish in his time, and fullness of peace forever. Give the king justice, O God, and righteousness to the royal son. May he judge the people with righteousness, and the poor with justice. Let the mountains bear prosperity for the people, and the hills in righteousness. May he defend the cause of the poor of the people, give deliverance to the needy, and crush the oppressor. Justice shall flourish in his time, and fullness of peace forever. In his days may righteousness flourish, and peace abound till the moon be no more. May he have dominion from sea to sea, and from the river to the ends of the earth. Justice shall flourish in his time, and fullness of peace forever. May his name endure forever, his fame continue as long as the sun. May men bless themselves by him, all nations call him blessed. Justice shall flourish in his time, and fullness of peace forever. And today's gospel reading is the one that many priests despise every year at this time. It's the genealogy of Jesus. And lucky for you, I am not going to read it because I would terribly butcher the names. But I will give you the references and you can read it on your own time if you choose to. It is Matthew chapter 1, verses 1 through 17. So as I stated, we have 4 saints to talk about today, and the first one is St. John of Matha. St. John of Matha is the co-founder of the Order of the Most Holy Trinity, and was born in Provence, France. Most of John's life story is based on legends that circulated after his death. It is known for certain that John was born in the region of Provence in southern France, sometime during the 12th century. By most historical accounts, he was the son of a gentleman. After finishing his education, John decided to seek a more contemplative life and become a hermit. His days were anything but solitary, as people flocked to his cell. So he left to go to Paris, where he studied theology and was ordained a priest. While celebrating his first Mass, John was struck with an idea for how he could serve his faith. He planned to ransom Christians held captive in Islamic lands. Many of these prisoners were knights and others who had left Europe to fight Muslims during the Crusades. Joined by Felix of Valois, another future saint, John traveled to Rome for papal approval. Pope Innocent III blessed their mission, and in 1198 approved the new order of the Most Holy Trinity. Members of the order, called Trinitarians, traveled to Spain and North Africa to free captives with the money John had collected from the French and Indian nobles. John sometimes went along on these dangerous missions. Once, it is said, after John ransomed 120 Christians, angry Muslims attacked his boat. They slashed the sails and damaged the rudder, hoping to leave the craft adrift at sea. After replacing the sails with cloaks, John prayed for God's intervention, and the boat returned safely to Sicily. As his order continued its work, John traveled to Rome. He spent his last 2 years there, dying in 1213. The Order of the Most Holy Trinity, or the Trinitarians, which John co-founded in 1198, still thrives today. While most Trinitarians rarely travel into hostile territory to pay for the freedom of prisoners, they still seek to ransom people held captive by injustice, ignorance, or sin. They are joined in their work by the Sisters of the Most Holy Trinity, whose order began in 1762. Today, the primary initiatives of the Trinitarians include aiding Christians persecuted or jailed for their beliefs, including conducting negotiations with government officials to win their release, performing missionary work in traditionally non-Christian countries, and establishing ministries for the poor, immigrants, the homeless, and the physically and mentally disabled. To learn more about the Trinitarians, go to www.trinitarians.org. And Trinitarians is spelled Trinitarians. The work of the order John helped found reminds us that all Christians have a duty to end the sufferings of others and to promote freedom whenever and wherever they can. Our next saint is Saint Sturmey. Saint Sturmey was an abbot of Fulda and was born in Bavaria. As a child, Sturmey was placed in the care of Boniface, an English missionary in Germany. Sturmey later entered the priesthood, and in 744, Boniface chose Sturmey to be abbot of the monastery at Fulda. To bolster his leadership skills, Sturmey studied at the Benedictine monastery of Monte Cassino in Italy. Under Sturmey's guidance, Fulda became the model monastery for Germany. Sturmey also earned the trust of Pope Zachary, who placed Fulda under his direct control rather than under the local archbishop in Mainz. This arrangement worked well until a man named Lull became Bishop of Mainz and demanded authority over Fulda. Sturmey struggled to keep the monastery's autonomy, but Lull won the support of King Pepin. In 763, the king banished Sturmey. Lull named his choice for abbot at Fulda, but the monks refused to accept his replacement and threatened to register their displeasure with King Pepin. So Lull agreed to let the monks choose their own leader, and they elected one of Sturmey's loyal followers, who led a campaign to convince King Pepin to reinstate Sturmey. In 766, Sturmey won back the abbacy at Fulda. Sturmey and his monks tirelessly missioned among the Saxons, but most of their efforts were in vain because of the warring atmosphere between Charlemagne and Pepin. Then the Saxons rose up and forced Sturmey and his monks to leave Fulda. Unfortunately, by the time Charlemagne restored Fulda, Sturmey was ill and unable to continue his missionary efforts. Regardless, to this day, Sturmey is remembered as the apostle of the Saxons. Presumed that Sturmey utilized a wide range of positive skills with the monks at Fulda, leading to their unwavering loyalty. Similarly, leaders today use a variety of methods to motivate their followers. The most effective are positive steps, such as treating people fairly. One such leader is a successful businessman from Massachusetts named Aaron Furstein, owner of the Menish of Malden Mills, which produced the popular Polar-Tech fleece-like fabric. When his factory was destroyed by fire in December of 1995, everyone expected him to take the insurance money and relocate. Instead, Mr. Furstein promised to rebuild the factory, pay every one of his 3,400 employees their December wages, plus a $275 Christmas bonus, and retrain any employee who could not return to their job after the factory was rebuilt. If you are called to lead, remember that the values of respect, fairness, and honesty will help you to earn loyalty. Before I continue on with our next saint, if you hear a loud banging noise, it's the plows. It's snowing here, as usual. And they are just now realizing that they need to plow our street, so it becomes louder than a normal plow would. Saint Wavina was an abbess born in Belgium. Born and raised in the region of Flanders, Wavina was the daughter of wealthy nobles. She was a devout young woman who had many suitors, including an amiable man named Richard. Richard had the blessing of Wavina's parents. When Wavina turned down his proposal to marry, he became terribly ill, but Wavina's prayers restored him to health. At age 23, Wavina became a hermit, living with a companion in a forest outside of Brussels. One of the few possessions she took with her was her book of Psalms, which still survives. She found little solitude, however, because of numbers of curious visitors. This changed after Count Geoffrey of Brabant gave her land and money to open a convent at Bergarden. Wavina gathered some disciples, built the religious house, and became its first abbess, helped by the abbot of a nearby monastery. Some nuns in the convent criticized Wavina for not being strict enough, but she insisted that she was completely devoted to God. These charges did not affect her reputation for holiness. After her death, pilgrims began to visit her tomb, and many healings were reported. About 200 years later, her life story was written down by a nun, and her relics were moved to Notre Dame du Sablon in Brussels. Pope Urban VIII declared her a saint in 1625. Wavina cherished her times of solitude when she could be alone with God, talking to Him, listening to His quiet voice within, and allowing Him to cleanse and refresh her tired spirit. We all need times of solitude to refresh and renew our spirits. It may be a week away from the daily routine, or perhaps just a few moments of contemplation with our eyes closed. Henry David Thoreau found renewal at Walden Pond, writing some of his greatest works there. Abraham Lincoln found refreshment in long walks late at night. Jesus preferred solitary time in the desert, or the rolling hills of Galilee and Judea. There are many retreat centers throughout the country which provide the opportunity for spiritual renewal. One such place is the Thompson Center Retreat, with 32 wooded acres outside of St. Louis, Missouri. Walking trails and meditation rooms are available for daily and overnight retreats. For more information, call 314-434-3633. Also, right here in New Hampshire, we have a retreat house in New Ipswich, ran by the Sisters of the Presentation, and we also have Joseph House here in Manchester. And also, for those of us that can't take time out of our days to go on a retreat, we can always go to adoration, which is something that Catholics have, and it's a gift that not every religion has. There are 2 perpetual adoration, actually no, only 1 now in Manchester, because Blessed Sacrament downgraded to a 12-hour. But Blessed Sacrament is open Monday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and St. Marie's, the Mother Riviere Chapel in St. Marie's, is open 24/7. Next, we have our last saint, which is Saint Bega. Saint Bega was an abbess who was born in Belgium. Bega came from a well-connected family that showed great devotion to the church. Her father, Pepin of Landen, was the Duke of Brabant, an area that is now part of Belgium and the Netherlands. He served as mayor of the palace to 3 Frankish kings and was later beatified for his efforts to spread Christianity throughout the kingdom. Her mother, the foundress of a monastery in Nivelles, was also quite devout. Pepin wanted Bega and her younger sister Gertrude to marry Frankish royalty. Gertrude refused and eventually became abbess at the monastery her mother founded. She was later canonized for her work. Bega, however, followed her father's wishes by marrying a nobleman named Enseguilas. As a member of nobility, Bega led a privileged life. She started a family, and her son, Pepin of Herstal, founded the dynasty that produced Charlemagne. In 691, her husband died in a hunting accident. The event changed Bega's life forever. No longer interested in political matters and a life of luxury, she built a convent and church at Aden on the Meuse River. She also erected 7 chapels at the same site, representing the 7 churches of Rome. Bega's convent started with sisters from the abbey at Nivelles, ran by her sister Gertrude. Eventually, her monastery became a house for canonesses, women who lived by religious rules in a community without taking vows. Years later, the Lateran canons regular considered Bega a member of their order. Bega died in 693, and a statue of her stands at a chapel bearing her name in Coutay, Belgium. Berga was one of many saints who gave up a privileged life to serve others. In the 20th century, Princess Elizabeth of Hesse-Darmstadt's life paralleled Bega's, as she also started a convent after her husband's death. The princess was married to a Russian count who was assassinated in 1905. Elizabeth then founded the convent of Martha and Mary in Ordinka, Russia. Along with other devoted nuns, Elizabeth dedicated the rest of her life to serving others. The sisters' duties included taking care of orphans, tending to the sick at a hospital at the convent or in their homes, and helping the poor. Elizabeth died in 1918, a victim of the Communist Revolution. She was later canonized by the Greek Orthodox Church and recognized as a martyr. People like Bega and Elizabeth remind us that service to others and God can be far more satisfying than wealth or a high social standing. Try to focus on that higher purpose as you live your life. Our closing prayer. Dear God, you blessed Bega and her family with wealth and power, but these worldly riches did not blind them to your word. Give me the same wisdom to cherish all that is possible through you, and let me take every opportunity to serve your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, the source of all that is truly valuable in our lives. Amen. This week's Fan of the Week is Karen Manaski. Also somebody I met from St. Maurice. Karen answered this week's question correctly and was the only one to answer the question. Karen is a good person that is very involved in many church ministries and was a former member of the Contemporary Music Ministry. Her current project is working as a board member for Heart to Heart, New Hampshire, a local chapter that hopes to become a large community. They are on Facebook, so look them up for more information. Thank you, Karen, for all you do, and enjoy being Fan of the Week. Remember to share, and you can't answer next week's question. There will be no show for the next 2 weeks, as next week is Christmas Eve, followed by New Year's Eve. I will be back on January 7th with a big, jam-packed show. I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy 2014, and thank you so much for watching.